There's no one around. It's totally and utterly deserted. Not a dicky bird, but not for long, because this is one of the best kept secrets in the outdoor events calendar. Welcome to the Adventure Show.
Whoa, this is Matt done.
I don't think I can do anything anymore.
Not long to go now before the start of the race, and over 2,500 runners from 14 different countries are here in Cairngorm, Perthshire, registering for the event.
It's rough, it's tough, yeah, it's a test. It is a test.
Very soon, these hills will be alive with the sound of heavy breathing, because all this is the location for the original mountain marathon, the toughest event of its kind, and no one knows where they're going until the very last minute.
You know it's going to be on the mountains, you know it's going to be 18 or 20 miles, and you know you're going to be out for 6 or 7 hours. That's the event.
Also in this month's Adventure Show, I'll be finding out why these hills are an inspiration to a family of artists. Cameron McNeish heads up one of his favourite glens to discover the secret of taking that perfect wildlife photograph. And Deziree joins 30 teams as they hurtle down from the Cairngorms in handmade carts. They rely on gravity, but the speeds they reach are amazing.
Everybody here reckons that going down that hill and the buzz you get out of it, racing head to head, is worth the risk of breaking things.
So we'll see if Deziree emerges in one piece later on, but first to the original mountain marathon. By common consent, this is the ultimate test of endurance, navigation and sheer willpower, as competitors tackle 2 marathons on consecutive days in rough mountain terrain. It's always a challenging event, and this year the weather may make it even harder. But that doesn't stop competitors travelling here from all over the world.
It's our first time, so initially we thought we can just, we thought we just find it, but everything looks pretty much the same here.
I've spoken to people from Belgium this morning, from Sweden, and they are very much charged up. Big bowl of Scottish porridge, which is great.
We're running a little bit late. We might have to maybe ignore some of the checkpoints.
Love to stop for tea, but we've got to get going. I bet you're really glad you got this job today.
It's 7:30 in the morning of the first day, and you can feel the excitement building here as the competitors get ready to be bussed to the start of the race. So how are you feeling about the race, guys?
It's raining, so we're very happy about this. This was our worst case scenario, I think.
We went in for a training session a couple of weeks ago, and I think reality set in then on how much training we hadn't done for this.
The original mountain marathon, or OMM as it's known, is just that. Founded in 1968, it's the first of its kind. The rules are simple. Teams of 2 carry all their clothing, equipment and food for 2 days on the hill, including their overnight camp. And there's a strong tradition here in self-sufficiency. Outside help is banned, and you can't use modern gadgets like a GPS. That's why competitors love the OMM.
Caught me looking at my best. Not lost yet.
It's the first time the event's come to Highland Perthshire, and the steep ground here will prove a real challenge. As ever, the choice of route will sort out the winners from the rest of the field. But this is an event where the real fun is just taking part.
Come on, that was a hard one. Okay, let's go.
It's good Scottish weather for us, not like the soft English weather we had last year.
It's just minutes to go, and although the racers have been taken to the start line at St Fillan's, still no one knows where they're going once they're through the starting gate. It's a closely guarded secret till the very last moment. Only now are competitors being given this information.
You don't get the map until now, so there's no planning you can do really.
Looks awesome. It's really, really good.
Lost already.
And the weather looks terrific.
It's a staggered start, and many competitors are still thinking about where they'll go.
I'm not quite sure how we're going to do it yet, but it's going to be basically trying to stay on the high features.
The teams behind me are frantically planning their route before setting off. Weather conditions have really closed in, so navigation's going to be pretty tricky. It's really claggy and it's just hosing it down now.
Much the same as usual, tough. The plan always changes within a few minutes of start.
Looking forward to the race, guys?
Yeah, very much so. Certainly looking forward to finishing it.
Good luck.
Thanks. Thank you.
So as long as we both manage to keep together, I'm sure we'll be fine.
work out how to use the spinning thing.
Yeah.
Is this weather going to be a challenge for navigation?
Yes. It'll suit those that can navigate.
Morning, all right? Hey Des.
Hello.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Excited.
Yeah.
Wet.
Where are we?
Really psyched.
Yeah.
How's the course looking?
Well, I don't know. Haven't looked. Hilly. Not as far as last year, but probably still quite hard. Yeah, hillier, steeper, and it's not very nice weather.
Good luck.
Sweet. Take it easy, guys.
There are 7 different categories in this year's race, and over 2,000 competitors will be spread all over the hills. This is one of the most popular events in the racing calendar, but with extreme conditions like these the norm, why do competitors return year after year?
We like conditions like this.
You do like it?
Yeah, we like it when it's misty and wet. We're disappointed it's not snowing.
Why do you like it?
It just makes it harder for everybody.
More challenging.
It's more challenging.
Yeah.
You come here to challenge yourself, haven't you? So you may as well be challenged.
So you don't want it to brighten up then?
No, we want it to be like this all night long, all day long. Yeah, no, be good.
Our camera team might not agree with that.
Double take? Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah.
What makes you keep coming back?
I don't know. That's a good question. It's good to, to stretch yourself sometimes, and I keep thinking, oh, I'm too old to do this, but keep coming out.
So far, we are just fine.
All right, let's go. There's been some pretty horrific ones, where it's been either very windy or very wet, and you just sort of lay in your tent overnight and you're wet and cold and you just can't wait for it to finish. But then other times it's absolutely glorious and you just, you can't, being out there all by yourself and, you're given a challenge, it's great.
One of Scotland's top fell runners is Colin Eads. Normally he'd be competing, but this year he's volunteered to help with the marshalling. He'll be our eyes and ears on the hill throughout the event.
It's a miserably rainy day, but that's what these guys have come here for. They want to test their navigation skills, their survival skills in the worst the weather can throw at them. So hopefully most of these guys will actually be relishing the challenge that this brings.
Out on the hill, the elite racers are nearly halfway through today's course. They've been running for over 3 hours, and the 3 leading teams have reached this checkpoint together. Douglas Tooley is running with John Rock, Tom Owens is with Alistair Anthony, and Steve Birkinshaw has joined forces with Jethro Lennox.
The whole group of the teams have got together and running in a bunch. They're all very similar match in terms of fitness. They're just racing hard against each other, but it's getting away in these weather conditions very difficult. It takes a lot of confidence to go a different way from everyone else.
Hi there.
Hi there.
You guys all right?
Yep.
We've got in a good group. There's a couple of other teams. We're all working together, but I think we're probably going a bit too fast for some of the guys because up the steep climb, everyone was really struggling up that, but we managed to keep it together.
Hopefully there's some interesting legs where the navigation allows more than one route to be similar in terms of speed, so that they can try go a different route, maybe push a bit harder and see if they can get the edge on someone, get through a couple of minutes earlier. With the weather conditions down like this, with the cloud down, you could sneak through a control without the others seeing them and just get away at that point. But you do need to have spread out a little more than they were when they came through that checkpoint.
While the fastest elite competitors have barely stopped on their way through, others find time to grab a drink and check their maps.
Good old Scottish river water.
Right mate, follow the walk down to the track on the track, reservoir, corner.
It's pretty good, cold and damp, I'll be honest, but hey, it's checkpoint 5, we're halfway down, aren't we? So another 5 to go.
It's tough going on the grounds, no tracks, it's heather, tussocks. It's pretty hard going. The sunshine helps though.
How's it going?
Not bad, not bad. Cold.
Cold. How's the mist? Is
Lots of bog trotting. Could do with some running really.
Oh.
You know.
Fingers crossed.
Different muscles.
Yeah.
Easier on the legs. Right, we're going across the dam, are we?
Well, no one's approached us from that direction.
No, that was just poor route choice.
All right.
We did exactly what we wanted to
choice.
do. Yeah.
We're ahead, we're sure of it.
All right, okay. Well, you're the first to arrive from that direction.
We went wrong precisely.
This race is about far more than who are the fastest hill runners. Each team decide the best route between checkpoints, and it isn't always the obvious line.
I reckon we'd bag these two because they're so close together.
Yeah.
And then we'll be able to get on that path.
We're having to use the compass a lot more than just going for points and stuff. So yeah, it's a bit more tricky.
Quite challenging today with the mist. Needs a lot more concentration from from 1 minute to the next and keeping an eye on the lie of the land. As soon as you get a glimpse of features that you can recognise, you have to locate yourself as accurately as possible. But it's a good day.
Beautiful. I'm so glad we got lost. We didn't find the point 3, but now I think finally we've got a strategy to find the next one. Just walk in the right direction. Yeah, that worked pretty well. So my partner is just coming down. It's our first time, so initially we thought we can just, we thought we just find it, but everything looks pretty much the same here, so we're now heavily relying on our compass, and that works pretty well. Yeah, the fog makes things more difficult.
We just climbed that.
Did you mean to?
No, we meant to come here. So, bit of a pain, but the weather and the visibility is making it quite difficult. And yeah, I think I'm wet from, the waist down, and most of that has gone in mud and bog and pretty much everything. Oh, we are going up. Oh, right.
Bye. Well, we've managed not to get lost, which is unusual. There's plenty of time yet, though. I'm sure.
Go horribly wrong.
I'm sure we'll end up in a loch or wandering aimlessly around the hills.
It's amazing to see so many smiling faces. Many would think these conditions are soul-destroying, but it's not always like this. When the skies are clear, it is beautiful here. And it's a landscape that provides inspiration for a local family who've all become artists with an eye for the unusual. To most people, this would be a pile of scrap, but to Heather coming here, this is an inspiration to create artwork, isn't it?
Yep, most of the time. Sometimes you blindly look at it and wonder why, but...
So you create art from this?
I do indeed. I like pieces like this because they're almost like sort of bones.
Here, for example, I see this as being a strap for a gate.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing what it was?
Yeah, it was indeed.
What do you see it as?
I would use it maybe in the back of a vulture or the bottom of a belly of something. There's lots of things you could do with that.
For generations, this has been the village blacksmiths in Cairngorm near Aberfeldy. Heather's father worked here and her mother trained as a fine artist. She has taken inspiration from both.
It was only just almost by accident that she came along and had a go at this and decided it was something she could do, and just got stuck in and has been here ever since.
And what was that like for you?
Interesting at the beginning. No, she's very good, and she gave me a lot of inspiration as well, especially the fact that she started so young. I mean, she was only 18. She was full of life, full of youth and enthusiasm, and I think at the stage where you want to kind of change the whole world, and she certainly turned us upside down. But it was good fun, and it's been good for all of us.
My husband joined the business last year, which is very exciting, and we kind of thought he would do more practical things like my dad, sort of gates and railings and things, but actually he's rather artistic as well.
I was out here most nights after work, watching Heather work away, and just started playing about with the stuff too, and found that I maybe had a wee spark for it as well, and really enjoyed it. The inspiration you can pull out of things, it's amazing what actually triggers you off. It's really good.
Sometimes maybe you'll have a day that you can't think of what to make, so you'll go and rummage around the scrap heap, and find something that will inspire you to make a particularly different animal to what you were thinking in the first place. So.
I'm just intrigued, for example, how does a couple of radiators and a bit of a bike become a black-faced ram? You know?
I don't know. somewhere up here it just ends up that way. I mean, the racing handlebars are quite a good sort of idea of ram's horns, so yeah, I guess that's where it came from. And with using them, I kind of thought, well, why not put the seat and the pedals on as well and make it a racing sheep?
Is humour quite important to your work?
Yeah, very much so with what I do. And I love to make people laugh. When someone walks in and sees what I've made and has a little chuckle, it makes me really happy with what I've achieved.
So take me through the process of actually creating something. Is it a kind of fairly physical and noisy?
Yeah, it can be actually. Heavy lifting and things, but I quite like it. It's a bit of a challenge.
And the actual welding bit of it as well, it's obviously a big bit of it, a big part of it.
Yeah, you burn yourself a lot. I go to the hairdressers and she's always laughing because I've got little short bits in my hair because sparks land in my hair all the time. And you've always got to wear your trousers over your boots because otherwise the sparks go in your boots. It's a nightmare.
You don't want that.
No, you don't, because you're hopping around like mad.
Would you ever have imagined that when you first started here as a blacksmith that your business would be now doing this?
Never, no. I thought I'd be a plodding blacksmith all my life, and just how it has completely changed. It's great for they can just picture it where it is and weld it up.
We'll be back in Highland Perthshire, catching up with all the action from the original mountain marathon shortly. But right now, we're off to the Cairngorms to join Cameron McNeish for his wild walk.
This is Glen Feshie, and later in the programme I'll be meeting one of Scotland's most exciting wildlife photographers, someone who's chosen to make his home here. But before that, I'm going to take a walk up to a historic ruin at the head of this, one of my favourite glens.
This isn't going to be one of my normal wild walks where I go and wander around the high tops. It doesn't look very nice up there today. It's probably raining and probably snowing and very, very windy. But I don't mind, because a walk through Glen Feshie is always a delight. To wander into an area like this with the ancient pines, a tumultuous river like this one, the River Feshie, and I just kind of enjoy being in the woods for a change. There's a long history of people living and working here in Glen Feshie. During the 18th and 19th century, many people were employed extracting timber from the glen and floating it down the River Spey. That's an industry that continued right past the First and the Second World Wars. And today you can find big areas like this one that are completely devoid of trees. There's a very encouraging trend in land management in Scotland now to try and allow the regeneration of our indigenous trees like the Scots pine. And here in Glen Feshie, the management techniques are really bearing fruit, because we see little trees like this sprouting through the ground all around us, and all quite naturally. You know, I've always been an advocate of the high places, but now and again I love to come down here and just take a wander through the streets of the pines. And each tree itself is deeply anchored, it's sort of rust red in its bark. And sometimes looking up at them, they give me the impression of being like the masts of big, billowing sailing ships. They're lovely. But the best thing of all is a kind of sense of timelessness here. If you consider these trees are between 200 and maybe 300 years old, that's only 30 generations of trees that would take us right back to the Ice Age.
In the 18th century, there were quite a number of dwellings here in Upper Glenfeshie. And Queen Victoria would often travel around from Balmoral to visit. And she described Glenfeshie as the jewel in the crown of the Cairngorms. There's not much left of these dwellings now. This is one of the few structures that remain. And this is the old chimney stack of one of the buildings. And it's said that the famous artist, Sir Edwin Landseer, came here. And this is where he painted his famous painting, Stagget Bay, which is probably one of the most familiar paintings of the Scottish Highlands. And it's said that he had drawn a number of frescoes on this chimney stack. Frescoes that had unfortunately vanished about 30 or 40 years ago. And this is all that's left of what Queen Victoria once described as the dining bothy. I'm heading back down the glen now to meet a wildlife photographer who's moved from England to live and work here in the Cairngorms. Peter Cairns has promised to share some of his secrets of taking stunning images and also introduce me to some of Glenfeshie's wilder residents. So join me for that later in the programme.
Back on the hill, and it's painfully clear that running in terrain like this is not easy. A twisted ankle with no outside help in a remote location could have serious consequences. So having the right kit is essential.
I have a spreadsheet where I put everything in, so usually the food will be the heaviest thing I'm carrying. So the tent's down at 700 grams, sleeping bag's down at 500, but I'll be carrying about 1.8 kilos of food at the start, and I should be coming to the finish with no food at all.
Competitors pare everything down to a minimum to try and maximise their speed on the hill. Rucksack, sleeping bag and waterproof clothing are all essential. But one of the most psychologically important items is food, and each team have their own favourites.
Ranger bars, gels,
flapjack,
marzipan and a rocket fuel flapjack, homemade. Look at that. Wouldn't you be tempted?
Yes, I am, yeah.
I haven't eaten yet, really, so I think it's time to whack on some chocolate, yeah.
Rice Krispie Squares, fantastic.
So you've got one small water bottle here. Are you just replenishing that as you go?
One bottle will go with me, it'll have an electrolyte in it.
Yeah.
So a weak electrolyte solution to make sure I'm getting plenty of salts on, and in actual fact that cup, which is also my cooking cup, so that'll go on top of with a windshield over the top of the jet burner. At the end of the day, that actually goes on my belt, so that'll be through my rucksack belt, and when we stop at a stream, I'll refill that and we'll both have a drink as we cross the stream, and then we'll chuck, once we've had enough, we'll chuck it away, and we might replenish the water bottles, but again it's a weight saving. There's plenty of streams, especially up here.
Competitors in the elite class are making good progress, with two teams in particular ahead of the field. Douglas Tooley, who's running with John Rock, and Tim Higginbottom, who's with Chris Neer, seem to have covered the most ground.
Tim's done some fantastic training. He's built a fantastic conservatory at home. But the running side of
really
thing,
good, yeah.
But his legs haven't done an awful lot in the last few weeks. So, you know, we've got to be, you know, and I had long races in the summer, and I've not really done a lot since, really, you know. So it's all been a little bit last minute in terms of training and that.
Working out exactly who is ahead is difficult at this stage because of the staggered start. Also in contention are Jethro Lennox and Steve Birkinshaw. They're previous winners of the OMM and eating up the miles today. But the conditions are grim, and Steve's finding it hard going.
Just wet on the foot and just sat to, and then if you know, I had a bad patch and got a bit better, but then I was just sort of...
Lots of sliding around and stuff as well.
Yeah, I mean, Jethro was awesome. They kept on taking my pack.
The elite course is the longest and hardest. For those on the shorter courses, the end of day one is in sight.
Lovely weather.
And with relieved legs, they tackle the last few miles to the campsite.
Mega. Better than Christmas.
Had enough for the day. Yeah. You can find a nice spot to pitch our tent.
Sole fell off. About 3k away, something like that.
You've just been running in your socks?
Yeah. Well, one sock. I'll get the other one on so I can contour
And
it.
he's still faster than me anyway.
Hey! You had a good... Beautiful day for it!
perfect Scottish weather.
Finally, the last one of the day. Yeah, not bad. A few nav and errors, but weather's been like this all day, so not a dry spot on us. But no injuries.
Oh, fantastic. We're here at the finishing line for the first day of the event and just waiting for the elite teams to start coming through. Some of the other classes are coming through, and by all accounts the weather up there today has been foul. It's really bad down here, but I think it's been really cold, wet and windy up on top. So some very bedraggled looking runners who are now going to a very wet campsite and a very wet tent.
The weather was abysmal, just like had to cut through you in the top of the hills and things. Yeah.
Is it much windier up there?
Yeah.
Lost my map twice, had to
like diving on it, like rolling,
to,
chasing it down the cliffs and stuff.
Very tricky navigation in all the mist and the rain on the tops. We got kind of lucky with about control 6, 7.
Yes, we sort of hit on it.
Coming down, and it was just through all sorts of peat hags on a long bearing. And we got within about 200 metres. It's either skill or a bit of a fluky one, that one.
It was really good,
Yeah,
enjoyable, as much as it was wet and a little bit cold, but it was good.
Oh, I'm so tired.
This is first one.
Was it good though, enjoyable?
For him.
No, you did it.
It'll be brilliant in hindsight when you're all dry and you've had a nice hot meal and a shower.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
First back for the elite competitors are Tim Higginbottom and Chris Neer. They've taken just over 6 hours to complete today's course. Because of the staggered start, they'll have to wait to find out their exact position. But they're pleased with progress.
Wet, tough, aren't they? There's a fair bit of water, yep. And God knows how many times we fell over today, but it's quite nice to be here. So there were some very good runnable bits to start off with. Very unrunnable bit in the middle there. Very tough section, you know, long distance between the controls.
Very slow speed, which is quite demoralising. But you've got to keep going.
Just keep plugging away, really. We're going to take the rest of the day off today.
Yeah.
We're definitely not going to run today.
No.
That's it. We're going to go in, we're going to have some food and drink and some sleep.
Next in for the elite are Steve Birkinshaw and Jethro Lennox, and their time is quicker. They've done it in just under 5 hours 40 minutes. A great time, but they've also found it arduous.
It's really hard on your feet. You start cramping up a lot. Towards the end, you're really cramping up, and you're like, you don't normally cramp up after just 5-6 hours of running, but just because all day you're sinking in the bogs and your muscles are really under pressure. So I think that was the hardest thing towards the end of the day.
Cramping up and you just dread falling in a bog and your whole legs going to spats. And you think, oh no!
But that's not the end of the day's work. Now they must pitch their tiny tents before they can get even a little bit of comfort. Experienced fell runner Colin Eads knows just how hard this is.
They're all coming into the campsite, trying to get their tents up as quickly as possible when they reach this overnight camp, because as soon as you stop running, that cold and wet that you've been fighting off with the heat from your body, that disappears, and now it's a race against time to get into your tent, into your sleeping bag and get food started to get yourself any comfort you can get at this point in time.
Tea and coffee, plenty of it, I think, is our plan at any rate.
And couscous.
Couscous. And couscous, is that because it's easy to cook? It's quick.
It's easy to cook, so all you've got to achieve is to boil some water, and we think we can achieve that. So if we can boil some water, we can make couscous. It's quite light to carry and stuff like that, and it's reasonably filling, so that's why we've got loads of that.
So I've got some soup, and there's some hot chocolate, and then some curry, and then some sweeties.
What's the plan from now on?
Food. Soup. Just eat constantly.
What sort of foods are you going for?
For a dehydrated curry.
Okay.
And best of all, malt loaf with custard.
Oh, that sounds delicious. I'd have that for tea normally, I think. Obviously your shoes are pretty wet. You're going to have to put these back on again tomorrow. That for me would be the worst part of it, really.
I know.
Getting up out of a sort of slightly damp sleeping bag and just putting all this wet kit back on again.
I suppose in the scheme of things, that thing of putting the wet socks on is pretty small, really, compared to the general suffering.
Yeah. But you're still smiling.
Aye, well, that's because we've got here.
Yeah.
We're just trying to dry off first. We've picked up the water from the stream. The next thing to do will be to cook, eat, drink all our powders and gels, whatever, then basically get whatever dry we've got on, get in sleeping bags and get some sleep.
It's now 4:30 in the afternoon here at the campsite at the end of the first day, and we've just found out from the marshals that the leading team, Jethro Lennox and Steve Birkinshaw, have actually just been disqualified. We're not sure if that's a final decision yet, but if it is, that's a really huge blow for those guys.
Towards the end, there are two controls quite close together, very close together. They're on separate features. One's in a sort of valley, the other's in a stream. The weather we've had today, there's water everywhere, so there's obviously the possibility of some confusion. And some teams have gone to the wrong one. Now, each control has a separate code, and the competitors know which code they should be looking for, and therefore they shouldn't go to the wrong one. But at the end of a long race, the brain isn't maybe functioning quite so well as it should, bad weather. So we'll have a chat about this later on to see if there's any discretion that we can make.
It was a hard decision, and the judges couldn't completely make up their minds. Disqualification was the obvious choice, but in the end they said that, for the moment at least, Steve Birkinshaw and Jethro Lennox would have a 30-minute penalty for missing the checkpoint. A final decision would be made at the end of the race. That means the final time for Steve Birkinshaw and Jethro Lennox at the end of day one is 6 hours, 9 minutes and 1 second. It's pushed them down into 4th place. Shane Oley and Duncan Archer are lying in 3rd place with a time of 6:07:57, with Douglas Tooley and John Rock just a few seconds faster. But now out in the lead are Tim Higginbottom and Chris Neer, who completed the day in 6:01:38. So, with just 8 minutes separating the top 4, everything is set up for an exciting race on day 2.
It's now 6:45 in the morning and dawn is just breaking. Our runners have probably had a pretty uncomfortable night here at a cold, wet camp, and now they're just preparing for their second long, hard day in the hills. How are you feeling today?
A bit sore, but feeling pretty good, I think. We're stoked for the challenge.
Good luck, guys. Thanks.
We had these inflatable beds. A lot of people just sleep on the floor, and we had these inflatable beds. Another 200 grams, but worth it.
We've done so many of these, you know, you just get on with it and come out the other side.
They're all pretty miserable.
Yeah.
But this was very miserable because it was very wet as well, you know, very wet and windy, and it got quite cold in the night, you know. But you know, like Tim said, we're used to it, and we've tweaked our kit over the years, and actually we're quite comfortable now. It's all relative though. There's comfort and comfort. And
you're not comfortable.
Quite fancy a bit of comfort now.
Yeah.
Given it was 15 hours in a tent, it didn't feel like 15 hours in a tent, so he must have slept at some point along the way. But
how are you feeling about today?
Psyched, pretty keen. Yeah, not long. It's only a few hours, and then back to the grind, you know. So I think I'll be alright.
So far, so good.
And you're both looking remarkably fresh this morning for having spent the night in a very wet, cold camp by all accounts.
It might be wet, but I think compared to previous OMMs, it wasn't that cold. So, and the ground was nice and damp. It was nice and level.
Feeling like you've still got lots of energy for today.
Definitely.
Brilliant. You could just keep going all week, could you?
Yes, we'll try.
So, as the racers start another long, hard day in the hills with a second marathon ahead, we're taking a short break to head into slightly better weather. And Desiree's about to try her hand at a completely different sport. It's young, it's homegrown, it's karting racing.
Everybody here is not a fair cross-section of the population. Everybody here has to have some degree of eccentricity or lunacy, depending on your viewpoint, to start with. The thrill outweighs the risk.
Here I am in Aviemore. It's Friday night. I'm out and about in the hills, as you can see, but I've got a slightly unusual evening ahead of me. I'm up here with the Cairngorm Soapbox Extreme team, and I've just been introduced to my trusty steed for the evening, the Bandit.
This is the 3rd year for this extraordinary event, where competitors hurtle down the Cairngorm ski road in handmade carts. And it's fast. The top speed last year was over 60 miles an hour. Tonight, it's time for the practice runs. The race begins in earnest tomorrow.
I'm feeling a bit nervous. It sounds like we're going to be going downhill really, really fast.
Just be very careful into the first S-bend, the switch. It's a very tight right, left, so brake hard into that one. Keep your speed on. No brakes through the flatlands, and when you get to the end of the flatlands, tighten off the flatlands, and just the speed will drop off down the sugar bowl and your speed will pick up and just keep going for it.
I've got to remember I don't have an accelerator.
You don't have an accelerator. If you get in the bother, you don't have an accelerator.
I just have a brake.
You just have a brake.
Yeah.
So
no clutch either.
no clutch.
Okay.
Yeah. You've only got brakes in your steering.
Racing cart 12. Tally ho!
Just looking around, these other carts look quite high powered. I'm sure mine's is going to be absolutely fine. It looks like a reliable, solid piece of equipment.
Racing 16.
This helmet's really heavy. I can't hear very much. I won't be able to hear my screams. Oh, it's going to be great.
Okay, releasing number 1, and this is the last cart.
You're right on the limits. This year we're breaking records again. You're getting towards the Holy Grail, which is like 70 mile an hour. It was 60 mile an hour a couple of years ago. It's now up to 70 mile an hour. So that's where everybody wants to be. And this course is, there's nothing else in the UK like it. It's technical. It's not just a straightforward drag race. You've got to have your wits about you, and it can be very, very, very fast and very interesting at times.
The racing part of it is actually the smallest part of it for what the teams are doing. They spend hours, days, weekends, entire weeks, months in sheds building these things, and the race is 2 days. It's not even 2 days, it's 2 evenings. So it can't be to do with the racing, it must be to do with the engineering and the challenge and the fun of building something that you are going to throw yourself down a hill at 70 miles an hour in.
There's literally thousands of pounds in some of these carts.
We've got 26-inch wheels, and most people are running sort of 10 or 12-inch wheels. I think nearly every person's come up to us today and told us our wheels are too big and that they're going to bend and break.
Some of us are professional engineers, a lot of us aren't. And what you find is when somebody brings a new car, everybody sort of swarms around it and you're just trying to see how they've done things, and you start thinking, and it's an evolving sport.
The speeds increase as people find that these hubs are better and these wheels are better, and then they tell everybody else, so right, everybody else fits the new gear.
I'm at over 70 on that last one. 70.31 according to GPS speedo. It feels very, very quick. I reckon I could go quicker, but I think my main limiting factor at the moment is bottle. I haven't got enough bottle.
It was such a hoot. I went far too cautiously down the first bit and actually lost too much speed. So next time I'm really going to go for it, I think. I ended up having to kind of push with my foot, and then a couple of young lads came and helped me out and shoved me off down the hill a little bit. As you can see behind me, the competitors are making some last-minute adjustments to their karties and getting themselves ready for tonight's races. It's going to be a bit different this evening because there'll be 4 competitors at any one time on the road. So as well as just thinking about your own driving, you're going to have to think about other people around you, which is going to be a little bit more intimidating, I think.
Go!
It's kind of slow in, fast out. Not fast in, because that's just how you're going to have an accident.
You should be faster. You should be taking more risks. You're too tame. Don't worry about bending the cart. Get after it. Get down there. Quicker. You're too slow.
4 carts away, 4 carts away.
If you're not in front, then let the others go through the switch, because that's the really tricky bit. You may get through yourself, okay, but if someone else is already side on, then you may end up hitting them. You don't want that to happen. And if you're in the front, keep your eyes open, but you have to hope for the best. If someone's behind you, you'd like to think that they'll avoid you because you can't see where they are.
This is one of the tougher races in the circuit
This is the
because
fastest,
it's the
steepest,
fastest.
longest, everythingest.
So-
And it's the only one in the country that does 4 carts head to head, which makes it even more interesting.
It is really surreal. 15 way out in front already. Oh, they're miles ahead of me already.
Go on, Desiree, faster, faster. The other 3 are getting way ahead. You're number 1 in your cart, but somehow I don't think you'll be number 1 down today. At the top of the course, all eyes are on last year's winner, number 30, Stephen Thomas. He's in the black and white cart. Further down, and he's way out in front, and that looks very quick indeed.
Top speed 70 miles an hour. I cracked 64 last year, and I was trying for 70 this year, and I got it.
A second win for Stephen Thomas. But how's Deziree doing? Maybe just a wee bit slower. But she is down in one piece.
I think I came last, but I don't really mind because I had a brilliant time, loved my little carty, and I met some brilliant people. I'll definitely come back again next year because it's a really nice vibe, and I might even take my own carty next time.
But back to a more usual form of transport, 2 feet. And I'm just down the road from Deziree. I'm on the way to meet a wildlife photographer who's chosen to make his home here in Glen Perthshire. He's captured breathtakingly powerful images in far-flung corners of the world. But here in Scotland, he seems to concentrate on wider environmental themes. And that's why I'm interested in the work of Peter Cairns. Hi, Pete.
Hi, Cameron.
How are you doing?
Good to see you.
How did you end up in a fantastic place like this?
Well, it is a long story and I won't bore you with it, but in essence, I had a business and sold it 8 months later, ended up here. Convoluted set of circumstances. You don't want to know.
What kind of business was it?
Haulage business.
Oh, that's a bit different.
Couldn't be more far removed, I guess.
Yeah. So what are you going to show me? Let's
Well,
take
I
a
thought
little
we
wander,
could perhaps have a look at our local red squirrels, if you like.
Yeah, fantastic.
Bit of pine forest in the back there, so yeah, we'll get going.
I take lots of photographs in the course of a day, and you know, I tend not to hang around. But I've been with wildlife photographers, and you guys seem to be happy to sit around for hours waiting for wildlife to appear. I don't think I've got that sort of patience.
Well, I think it's not through choice, to be fair. I think, you know, there's a lot of wildlife photographers, myself included, who you wouldn't necessarily look upon as patient, but it is a necessity. You know, it's not the Serengeti here, and you do have to work really, really hard to get your shots. Maybe patience is not the word, but tenacity is certainly something that is needed. And yeah, a lot of people haven't got that or aren't prepared to invest that sort of time and energy.
So what have we got here, Pete?
Well, effectively what we've got is a wooden box in the middle of the forest, but it's my squirrel hide, or one of them. And it's put here, you know, it's in position because of the light, the viewpoint, the background. And what I do is put out food every day. Have done for probably about 10 years. And the squirrels, of course, become used to it. It becomes a routine for them, so they know to come here every day. And that's how they get a shot.
And I think there's a little guy just over there.
Oh, okay.
Let's get inside, and
sure.
he might come closer.
Oh, here we are. He should go to the foot. Yep,
oh, great.
He knows where it is.
Yeah, that's perfect.
And that you can see that lovely pose with the squirrel with the tail coming back over the head, and ear tufts up, of course, in the winter. It's always best to photograph them in the winter. That's just perfect.
Yeah. They're such beautiful creatures, aren't they?
They've got these lovely engaging eyes and these big black beady eyes which have a catch light in them when it catches the light. So from a photographer's point of view, they're really perfect subject, really.
Just show me a couple of photographs on the computer and tell me the stories behind the photographs.
Yeah, sure. Well, this first one, I'm a great fan of just sort of simple graphic images, really. I'm a great fan of silhouettes. This was a really fantastic morning down on Loch Inch, just down the road here. Hooper swan, of course, that winter here from Iceland, just caught at dawn, standing on the frozen loch with the sun coming up through the mist, and quite sort of non-Scottish in a way. You know,
could be anywhere,
almost
yes,
got a
indeed.
sort of Japanese feel to it. Yeah, this is
pine marten.
Pine marten, yeah. One of the things that I tend to concentrate on now is species or landscapes
or issues, shall we say, where there is a kind of a human-wildlife dynamic. By dynamic, it often means conflict. Pine martens are a case in point. These are still rare animals, but are much more numerous now than they were perhaps even 10 years ago. But of course, they're a predator, and they're now at a number where they're starting to have, in some cases, an impact on prey species, and that would include other rare species like red squirrel and capercaillie, for example. So, I love pine martens, love photographing them, but for me, it's the backstory that motivates me to go after a species like this. And ditto Scottish wildcat. This is, again, a slightly controlled situation. It's a free-living cat, but it's a cat that was released into the forest around here, and I ended up baiting it in over a number of months with roadkill rabbits. And it got to the stage where I could kind of almost predict where it was going to be and when, but it allowed me to get an unusually wide coverage on what is normally a very, very elusive animal.
So can you define your work? What is the sort of end purpose of you going out and taking photographs? Is it to sell a pretty picture, or is it something wider than that?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to put food on the table, of course, and there's an element of commercialism to it inevitably, but I think what photography can do is tell people a story, and the human condition has always been receptive to having stories told to them. Well, I've not got a particular bent towards great red squirrels or pine martens or golden eagles or whatever. What I do care passionately about is ecosystem health, if you like, and that sounds, again, pretty worthy, but unless we get this stuff right, this river's not going to be healthy forever and ever. These mountains are going to start crumbling and erosion and all that sort of stuff. So I suppose the message, if there is one, a bit worthy about standing on a pedestal saying this is the message, is one of ecological health, and you don't have to be interested in conservation to care about, the cleanliness of our river and the quality of our air, and that's kind of the message, really. This wooden box is the buzzard feeding station.
Right.
There is a greater awareness of wildlife than there ever has been, but equally there is this alienation from nature as more and more people live an urbanised existence. And so I think what photography does is reaches an audience that perhaps the written word, certainly the scientific written word, just simply can't. But the two are not mutually exclusive. They can work hand in hand, and really what I'm trying to do is fuel that process, is to feed that shift in societal behaviour, if you like, in my small way.
Welcome back to day 2 of the OMM. The elite racers have been set off in the order they finished yesterday. The fastest team started first. As they head through an early checkpoint, yesterday's leaders, Tim Higginbottom and Chris Neer, are out in front. But Steve Birkinshaw and Jethro Lennox, who had a 30-minute penalty added to their time, have been having an incredible morning. They've virtually made up all the deficit, and they go through this checkpoint just a few seconds behind the leaders. A minute later, Duncan Archer and Shane Oley have also made up time and are now in striking distance of the first two pairs.
P63.
But there's still a question mark over whether Jethro Lennox and Steve Birkinshaw will ultimately be disqualified for missing that checkpoint on day 1.
We made a holding decision last night to let the team that's in dispute carry on, and I think I just need to do some more thinking before we reach a final decision on how to handle it.
So it feels quite political, I suppose, in some respects. This is quite an important decision for you to make today.
I mean, I feel very uncomfortable about it, and it's so hard, especially at sort of in the evening of a Saturday when everybody's tired, and to really think things through very logically. So I think what we did yesterday was right, and then just sort of pick it up and have another look at it later today.
The OMM is without doubt a supreme test of teamwork, self-reliance and navigation. And none of this is made easier by this rough mountain terrain.
How's it going this morning?
Yeah, very good. Some stiff climbers over there though.
Yeah.
But we're going okay. We'll see at the end of the day.
Used to like Heather, but not so much today.
It's tough, very windy. Terrain's hard, very hard, walking, really difficult, just, not steady at all.
At one stage we decided to go through this marsh sort of as the crow flies, and then there was people behind us and we noticed that they'd found a nice road all the way around.
All right.
Back with the fastest runners, and things are definitely heating up. Colin Eads is out on the course waiting for the leading teams.
The racing guys, they've been running for over 2 hours and 15 minutes. The first one's out. They're going to be coming through here fairly soon. We're expecting them to come down the hill from into this re-entrant here and then climb up past us.
And in a huge turnaround following yesterday's penalty, Steve Birkinshaw and Jethro Lennox are now amazingly in the lead.
Well done, guys. Good to see you back in the competition. You glad about that?
Yeah, very glad.
We've just seen Steve Birkinshaw and Jethro Lennox coming through. They last night they had been disqualified, but then I think the competitors have asked the organisers to reconsider their decision. They've just come through this control point in the lead, racing hard to prove they're the best.
Just behind and still challenging for the lead are Tim Higginbottom and Chris Neer.
Hi Tim, you're not that far down.
Behind them, currently in third, are Duncan Archer and Shane Oley. And they're playing a strategic game, trying not to get too involved in this ding-dong battle for first place.
Hi. Come on. That was a hard one.
Okay, let's go.
We've raced our own race. So the most important thing is we've not got too wrapped up in racing head-to-head with people.
Yesterday a couple of teams got together, they were running together, and I think at least one of them just maybe got really tired, whereas we were just running on our own, did our own thing.
This two coming through, Doug Tully, John Rock, started in second place, a little bit down now, but pushing hard. Go on there, Doug. Go on, John.
Navigation's kind of our strong point. We both compete at a high level in orienteering, so usually the navigation's not so much of a problem. We had some like minor issues yesterday with some of the controls, but usually we get an okay.
The competitors from the shorter courses are nearing the end of this grueling 2 days on the hill. And for some, that end can't come soon enough.
I did dip, didn't I? I just can't stand up in it.
How you getting on?
Miserable.
Really?
No, we're going alright.
Even compared to yesterday?
Oh yeah, miles better than yesterday, but
That wasn't
not
difficult.
saying, not saying much. Right mate, where next?
How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. Looking forward to stopping.
Oh, it's a hard day today.
What's making it hard?
The distance and the terrain. This stuff. Nearly finished.
The elite racers are still powering over the hills. As they approach the finish line, it's Duncan Archer and Shane Oley out in front.
Okay, DS. Yeah.
They've had a remarkable final part of this race. They're exhausted, and that's not surprising. In a supreme effort, they've moved up from third place to come first.
Two of the teams got away, and I thought, that'll be it.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll be third. I think
We
they
were
made a
amazed.
small mistake.
They must have made a little mistake,
Yeah.
and we were on that kind of terrain. If you're just 2 minutes behind somebody, you can't see them. They made a little mistake, and we were just suddenly right on top of them.
Yeah.
And we just thought, right, let's just take it on, and
go
we
for it.
pushed them hard, and
Yeah.
they fell away.
And how hard, well, how hard was it? Obviously
I
very
think
hard.
the
but
second half of today, we were pushing quite
We
hard.
pushed, but when you can kind of smell the finish, it just feels less painful.
Yeah.
And having caught the others as well, it was such a positive experience. We kept saying to each other, we could win this.
you look amazingly fresh.
Well,
Most people do actually.
That's just because we finished and we've won.
And we've sat down.
Yeah.
Hanging on to second place, just a minute behind Duncan and Shane, are Tim Higginbottom and Chris Neer.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You've done brilliantly in
Not
the
a
elite
perfect
category.
race, but a decent race.
Not perfect race.
Well, we came second. It was just hard, wasn't it? It was tough underfoot and pretty wild on top the first half of the day.
It was one of those yo-yo days. The first 5 or 6 kilometres was so fast, the running on big tracks and that it's not really our sort of cup of tea really. And so we lost a bit of time early on, and then when it did get rough underfoot and big climbs, we sort of dug in quite well then. But yeah, it was one of those days really where you're sort of up and down all the time and sort of blowing and feeling okay, and then he was blowing and then he'd feel okay and I'd feel rotten
again.
It was one of those. It never really coincided very well, and then it was a furious finish.
Last 30 minutes.
We ran well off the last hill, and then we got down to within 250 metres of the finish probably, and Shane and his partner, they'd obviously completely blown up and they were just walking along the track.
Looked like they were retired, didn't they?
Presume that they had missed the control or something, and all of a sudden they turned around and just glanced at us, and if they hadn't have turned, I think, it could have been pretty close. They were from here to the tree there, and it was really close,
That must feel quite
so it's just a few seconds there, but hey, never mind.
While coming in third are relative newcomers Douglas Tooley and John Rock. A fantastic result for them.
We always go out to try and win, but we're quite young comparatively.
Is this first time racing in the elite category?
Yeah, first time doing the elite.
We've done the CBNA previously.
So we've been working our way up. So that it was 2 years ago we ran the A, so then we didn't have a choice. It was like, great, we're going to have to run the elite now. So and it's been good.
And you've done well. That's amazing.
Yeah,
to come third.
Yeah.
Presumably you want to come back next year as a pair and compete again.
Yeah.
We'll come back at some point, whether it's next year or not.
Maybe it might take a couple of years to recover.
So, confirmation of those results. Douglas Tooley and John Rock finished in 11 hours, 2 minutes and 44 seconds to take third place. Coming in second was Tim Higginbottom and Chris Neer in 10:57.06. And first place goes to Duncan Archer and Shane Oley in a time of 10:56.53. Steve Birkinshaw and Jethro Lennox had a tremendous burst of speed this morning to make up for that 30-minute penalty, but it was too much to sustain, and they've dropped down to fourth.
We worked really hard yesterday, so and then suddenly to lose half an hour, and it's pretty difficult to get back half an hour in the elite class. You learn, and these things happen in these events. It's not all just about running, there's a lot of other things involved. So yeah.
An event like this isn't just about the elite athletes. It's the original mountain marathon, and it's arguably the toughest. So congratulations to everyone who took part and to everyone who finished.
We've done lots together in the last 15 years.
All through the year to keep us fit, so we don't get out of sort of training mode.
This is our 25th together. We've taken 26 years to do it, so we missed out on 1 year. There's not many teams who've kept together for that length of time, so that's what we celebrate.
And presumably you are not giving up now that you've done 25 years? Are you coming back next year?
So now we'll be back, yeah.
Oh wow.
That was hard.
Well, that's it for this month's Adventure Show. Next time we'll be back with one of the toughest mountain bike races on the planet. 24 hours in the frozen north in the dead of winter, the Strath Puffer. Please join us for that if you can. In the meantime, from the Perthshire Hills and the original mountain marathon, thanks for your company. Bye for now.